college football is broken. Damon Williams in the transfer portal? What's going on, man?
You are Locked On Huskies, your daily podcast on the Washington Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into a special bonus edition or not so special really, of the Locked On Huskies podcast. I'm Roman Tomashoff. I'm the site editor with Husky Wire. That gentleman right there, that's my good buddy Nick Lemkau from Last Word on College Sports. Thank you for making this your first watch or first listen of the day, as we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. And just a quick reminder to all you everydayers out there, wherever you get this podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, wherever that might be, please make sure to click that subscribe button, click that little bell as well, so numbers we post new show. And yeah, Nick, this is insanity. So just before we even jump into all this, like Damon Williams in the transfer portal, and like college football is broken, and I'm sure we have a lot to say about that. I was sitting here recording part of my show for tomorrow, and then I swear I have 15 texts saying, "Are you okay? Like, what's going on?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? This is ridiculous."
Yep, I got the tweet notification from FAML, and I immediately thought that it wasn't like a real account. And then I went and looked, and I said, okay. And then it was in the On3 database, and very surprising. But at this point, nothing is shocking in the transfer portal. There's people entering left and right. It's been a chaotic couple of days. Feels like it's been a month, but it's only been open for 4 days now. And yeah, Damon entering the transfer portal is a massive hit for Washington. So yeah, let's get into it.
It's outside of it just like being a massive hit. This is, I think this, like you say, nothing can shock you anymore. And I certainly agree. After this, I'm just completely numb to everything the transfer portal has to offer. But this is one where, because we're sitting here 3 or 4 days ago, and I remember looking down my phone and seeing the Pete Thamel notification. Damon Williams is re-signed with Washington. Mm-hmm. Oh,
just a couple days ago, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I'm like, all right, cool. Everything seems cut and dry. Now he's entering with a do not contact tag. So the only thing that this means is somebody put in a call to his representation. We're gonna do some speculation because there are some very obvious schools where that could be. And it was, yeah, all right, what's it gonna take? I was texting with people as we're setting this up and everything. 4 million, 4.5, 5. Is that the camp that we're going to get into? Like, if Brennan Sorsby is getting $5 million to go to Texas Tech, I don't think it's that far off that somebody came in with that kind of offer to try to lure they did lure Damon Williams away from Washington. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think I immediately texted you. It's my first thought is SEC school, $5 million. I mean, that's just what. Total speculation, but that's, probably the direction this is going, especially when you see a do not contact tag. It's extremely surprising.
And this is one of those things where when we just kind of look at what Washington has done so far, not just necessarily in the transfer portal, but what Jedd Fisch's priorities have been since he got to Washington. It's all about player retention. It's all about doing those things. And it was very clear that Damon Williams had always been a priority at Washington. And the way that Jedd Fisch had structured his offense around him, all those sorts of things, I think that was all very clear. And the way that Jedd has always propped him up and the way that everything just kind of had always unfolded. I don't think you can blame Jedd Fisch for this in any regard either. No, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
No, I would speculate it's financial, but yeah, as you said, the program has been, since Jedd has arrived, it's been built around Damon Williams. I mean, we talked to him in press conferences, and it almost always comes back to, well, Damon Williams, he's 18, he's 19, he's learning things, he's developing, and almost any question you ask about the offense, Jedd is always bringing it back to centering it around Damon. Talking about how knowledgeable he is on the iPad, going over plays immediately after, a play ends on the field. He's on the sideline diagnosing what happened before Jedd does, before the coaching staff does. He's been, I think there's just been a big focus on making him the centerpiece of this program. Jedd said that. I think it was last year, mid-season. He said Damon Williams is going to be the face of the program next year. And it's surprising news to see this happen.
And this is one of the things, that's why we want to do this live. I couldn't believe it. Like, truly, like you, I had to go and double and triple and quadruple check this. And it really just comes back to this one point of college football is completely broken at this point in time, because this isn't even the first time we've seen this around Washington when it comes to guys, for whatever reason, having issues with an NIL deal or something like that. I don't even think that there was an issue in this case. I'm not trying to speculate or anything. I don't even think that there was an issue here, though. It was just how much is it going to take?
Apparently he re-signed a couple days ago, whatever the re-signing process is. I don't know how that works, but yeah, it was pretty well-known news that he had just signed, along with several other guys that we had seen just on social media kind of announcing they'd be coming back. You have to wonder, like, now what's that going to look like for all these other players?
Exactly.
That's another conversation, honestly.
But I think that's a conversation that we should have, and not necessarily just with Washington, because I look at what this opens up in terms of an NIL budget for a quarterback, and we're going to get into that in a little bit later. But I think this is one of the things that we need to look at in this regard around college football too, because now all of a sudden, even now, like I've seen a whole lot from people on Twitter, all over social media saying, hey, like, why should we care about these re-signings? Like, that players are supposed to come back to like their program year in and year out. Yeah, they are. Mm-hmm. This is why, apparently. And it just sets off this whole other chain reaction of around college football. Now, all of a sudden, nothing means anything anymore. And I know that was, for there's a cynical fan out there that would always say, yeah, it's always been that way. Nothing has ever meant anything. And I do think that was fair to an extent, but it was always like, all right, like, you and I are big football fans. We watch the NFL. We watch, I'm a huge baseball nerd, as you have to sit through every single time we're on the sideline at a UW practice. Yeah. But like all of these things, like a contract, all that, it mattered. It all mattered. And now everything, just take it and throw it out the window.
Yep. And like I said, not shocked, but I am surprised. Earlier today, similar situation at Iowa. Cohen Intringer, 13-game starter, 73 tackles, career high. He entered the transfer portal just a few weeks ago. He had told reporters at Iowa that he would be coming back for his senior year. And just like that, he's in the portal. Same kind of situation there. Can't be shocked at this point. There's a lot of money at play. There's a lot of, I was going to say playing time, but it's obviously not playing time. So for some players it is, but in this situation, obviously not. But yeah, it's a system that it's whoever, it's the haves and potentially the have-nots who has the money to go get players that they can afford. And we're seeing that. I mean, look at Texas Tech. They were able to buy a massive roster and they made it to the college football playoff on the Big 12 this year. I mean, that's how player acquisition is going to happen these days. Who has the money? And we're seeing it at the top level, top quarterback, and one of the top quarterbacks in the Big Ten, DeMond Williams. And yeah, top players like that are going to go where the money is.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. That's what's going to happen. And this is why, like, I've been saying it for a while here on Locked On Huskies, as a lot of my everydayers know. The NCAA needs to step in. That is the only thing that is going to change this. That is the only thing that can fix anything going on in this sport, because this was one of those things where we'd seen it hit Washington in some regards, right? Where it's okay, yeah, it's a player here. Oh, that's an unfortunate loss there. This is what it is. That's just part of college football. But to see it happen like this on this level, I feel like there is, and this isn't even me just saying this or you from a Washington guy perspective, being, credentialed media members that cover the team. No, this is just something that if you don't find a way to step in and fix this quickly, nobody is going to have any kind of affiliation, not just necessarily with the team, because at the end of the day, that's what it all comes back to. But no one is going to have a favorite player anymore, because they say, oh, even if he resigns, there's a chance that 48 hours later, he's going to wind up in the transfer portal. And that's just absolutely insane. And that's something that's, I don't even want to say it's just unacceptable, because it goes beyond that. It just severs any kind of connection that anybody would want to have with their favorite team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Nebraska had initially landed a quarterback in the transfer portal, and Kentucky went and flipped him, probably financial reasons there too. I don't know the details of that. And then, I don't know all the details of how the NCAA would need to come in and regulate this, but you're totally right. I mean, there's affiliation with player to school. It's different than it used to be when you would sign on to a school and play for 4 years. I mean, just a few years ago, to transfer, you had to sit out a year and you had to get like a waiver, and it was very complicated to even go to a new school. And as soon as they granted immediate eligibility to college football for college athlete transfers, it really changed everything. And I think I saw it was at Colorado. I could be wrong. One of these, it was a Power 4 school, someone donating to NIL booster, someone in that regard was like, I don't want to give money anymore. I paid a player last year to join this team, and he joined the team and it worked out, but then he, played really well and now he's getting money to go somewhere else. It's like, there's no incentive to donate to that NIL or what, whatever it is for these boosters or anything like that, because like you said, the affiliation is just, it's different now.
No, I couldn't agree with you more there. Let's switch gears here a little bit because there are some early rumors about where Damon Williams will end up. And we'll get to that right after a message from our good friends over at Rocket Money. Let's be real, managing your finances can feel overwhelming. Between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track every transaction down or hunt down those hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I love how it tracks all my subscriptions and lets me cancel them right in the app with just a few taps. No more hunting down customer service numbers. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. One more time, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Nick, I still can't believe we're sitting here talking about this. And as we're having this discussion, a good friend of both of ours, Alex Katzen, friend of the program who writes with me over on Huskies Wire, has put out an early report saying that it does sound like LSU is the leader in the clubhouse. And again, he did enter with a do not contact tag. I feel like Miami is a name that you can throw around with what they did with Carson Beck last year as well. There's so much going on here. And it's just, it's unbelievable that we even have to sit here and talk about this.
Yeah, I just reposted Alex's tweet. Sounds like LSU could be, potential. I would say, yeah, speculation. SEC school. The fact that we're talking about this, it is crazy. I was just on surfing on Twitter. There's a lot of players quote tweeting it as well. We kind of talked about that. I saw Bryce Butler, Audrey Harris. That was weird. Some players chiming in on this. I mean, there's maybe, I don't know what's going on maybe behind the scenes in that regard, but it seems like there's some people, some players included, kind of all in the know on something here. Yeah, I mean, what do you think about that?
I think it has to be money at this point in time, because like you go and you read it, and like you can never fault anybody for taking a large amount of money, especially when it's a 19, 20-year-old kid. It's, I'm getting offered what? Yeah, that's something I'm certainly going to consider. But it's just so frustrating when, the Bryce Butler one where he seemed to obviously be supporting him, and Bryce Butler is someone who falls into that same boat. You talked about Texas Tech. That's where Bryce Butler ends up. Where let's just say it is LSU. I'm getting texts from people saying, oh, maybe it's Miami. Like those are some of the reasons we're throwing out those sorts of teams. I just, like, truly, I'm sitting here and I cannot believe this, because this is just, it goes so far beyond what we already have known about the sport and about everything that's going on. And I feel like every fan out there has every right to feel frustrated, because there is so much that you can sit here and say, I was so excited about this for Washington 2026. I was so excited for that. And I think that there's still a lot of talent on this team, but it all centered around Damon Williams. And now let's just say in a hypothetical world that it is Lane Kiffin, and he does wind up at LSU, even though Sam Leavitt sounds like the other guy they're pushing for there. It's so hard to sit here and just think of anything, like not even just anything positive to say, but it's hard to sit here and comprehend this, because again, it all goes back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier. This sport just feels broken beyond all repair at this point in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right. I don't know the workings of maybe LSU's roster or Miami's roster, but like you said, those could be potential landing spots. I know that the quarterback that played in the I think it was the Texas Bowl for LSU, Van Buren, he entered the transfer portal. And obviously Miami, Carson Beck will be done after this year. So there is openings, and if they're going to go pick a quarterback, they obviously have the money to do that. Trinidad Chambliss, I don't think is following Lane Kiffin to LSU. If he gets that extra year of eligibility, I think he said he's coming back to Ole Miss. If that's right.
He did, yeah.
So, it's just a wild
no, it's crazy. Like the one name that I feel like we could sit here and speculate on, but before we get out of here, because I feel it is important to have some kind of discussion in that regard, is Jedd Fisch's former quarterback in Noah Fifita, who does have 1 year of eligibility remaining. And like, I look at the guys on the roster, because I think Treston Keating-McMillan is very talented. I think Dash Byerly is certainly very talented. And it's exciting to bring in a true freshman like Derek Zammit as well. But I look at what's next for this program, and you need some kind of stopgap. And if, let's say it is a Noah Fifita kind of guy who does wind up entering the transfer portal, comes in, wins the job and all that, that's great. And something that, great. You have a little bit of a stopgap in the program, but that's not enough. And I feel like this is one of those things that, again, is just going to sever so many people's connections with this team. And it's not like the one thing I do want to make sure that I feel like you'd agree with me on this is none of this is like UW's fault. I feel like that's something that this is just what this sport has become. And until there are very strict guardrails put in place, nothing is going to change from this.
Yeah, I think there's been over 4,500 players that have entered the portal. I don't think it's necessarily a school's fault. I mean, you work with the funds that you have to pay players the way they should be paid, and some schools have more, and that's just kind of how it works out. I'm looking at Noah. I just pulled up Noah Fifita's stats. He's played in 40 games of college football. This year, it was his best year passing, 3,200 yards, 29 touchdowns. So I don't know if that's a name that you could speculate on if he does have one more year of eligibility. He's played 3 full seasons, redshirted. Looks like he only played 3 games in 2022, so he would have that extra year. That's certainly someone Jedd is familiar with. You look at the quarterback room at Washington, Dash and Kinney. I was really impressed with Kinney in the spring, particularly in the spring game. He had a couple, I think it was the 1 touchdown to Raiden, a couple really nice throws. He had some really quality throws just at practice, just in the team periods. I think he looks like a good quarterback. But, I mean, they're so young. They haven't really played. Kinney showed up in the LA Bowl. Was that right? Did he get in a couple snaps, I think?
He did, yeah. At the very end. And he's somebody who really loves to push the ball downfield, too.
Mm-hmm.
Where
he's got a good arm.
Yeah, he's got really nice arm talent. He's a really good athlete, too. Being a little undersized, and feels like he'd run the system really well. But that's I feel like, again, it's just not something we can sit here and talk about at this moment, because if you have, like, just with the aspirations that this team and some of the other talent on the roster was going to be for 2026, you need to go out and do something. And I think that another thing about all of this is it's so frustrating to think about is when this happened, because we're sitting here and, like, I was seriously having this conversation with somebody 2 or 3 days ago. It's like, oh man, it's great Washington isn't in the market for a transfer portal quarterback. I didn't say those words. So the Locked On Huskies jinx that I usually will throw out there does not apply in this scenario. Let me be very, very clear about that. This is not my fault. But I think it's something where we've seen so many guys already commit elsewhere that, especially with what Damon brings to the table from a talent perspective, nobody, I don't fault any Husky fan who's going to sit here and be like, man, I'm kind of going to tune out for the 2026 season at this point, because it's so frustrating.
Mm-hmm. And, you look at the last 2 bowl games, Damon Williams was responsible for 9 total touchdowns. I think he had 750 something offensive yards, passing and rushing. And both bowl games, the announcers, they were talking about how, wow, there's a lot to look forward to for Washington next year. You look at this team that went 6-7 two years ago now. Translating into 2025, I thought it was a really quality year from this team, going 9-4. And then same conversations in the bowl game, passing, like, I think it was 3 touchdowns in the first half, 4 total for Damon, 9 total in the 2 bowl games. They were saying the same thing. A lot to look forward to for this team. Obviously, you expect a handful of transfers. Every team is going to have that. But when you lose the guy that the program is centered around, that's going to affect a lot of things. Obviously, quarterback is an important position, so you got to look at the options remaining. I mean, we're already 4 days into the transfer portal. You wouldn't think it's going to be like slim pickings, but, like, it feels like it's been a month, and you got to really look at your options at this point, because the depth at the quarterback position that's currently on this roster, I just don't think is ready to. I mean, they may have to, and that may be the experience that they need to get next year, but it's certainly not at the point where it would have been with Damon. I mean, they're not going to pick up where they left off without this quarterback, who I think is, a top quarterback in the conference.
Oh, absolutely. Top 5, top 10 quarterback in all of college football. Really.
Certainly could be, yeah.
Nick, in your Locked On Huskies debut, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I would say you cannot be shocked about anything. Surprised, definitely, but shocked. I mean, it's hard to be shocked anymore. Obviously, huge news for Washington with Damon Williams heading out. Next thing we got to do is be tracking, what other players this is going to affect. All these other players we recently saw re-sign with Washington. We'll have to see what happens going forward, because as we just found out, nothing is off the table.
I couldn't agree with you more. Mine is it's time for the NCAA to step in. I like the fact that they've been sitting on their thumbs, and this is something that I've talked about a lot. A lot of my everydayers know this already. The NCAA needs to find a way to step in at this point. And this, again, isn't even just coming from a perspective of somebody who's got a big black W flag hanging over my shoulder here. No, this is just something that needs to happen for the good of the sport. There need to be very strict guidelines that are set in place at this point, because this is just going to continue. And if this is where we are now, it's probably going to get worse at a certain point in time.
It's like Jedd, I think, said this late in the season. We try to be the league, then we don't try to be the league. Then we try to be the league, then we don't try to be the league. You want to be the NFL, or do you want to be college? We need to have barriers set up for these kind of things, contracts that stipulate certain time lengths that players need to play for colleges, or when they can transfer, things like that. I certainly agree with you. There needs to be some sort of guardrail in place.
Nick, thank you so much for tuning in. To all you everydayers out there, thank you so much for joining us. And if you like what we have to offer here on Locked On Huskies, please make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. We're there. We're everywhere. We're updating this channel with new content every single day. So please make sure you click that like button, click that little bell, so never miss when we post a new show. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop them right down below in the comment section. And if you're audio only, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review, as it does help us out a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you on Wednesday.